it is the opinion of the backup deputy that this movie was freaking awesome. Welcome back to 31 Days of Halloween. Today we are going to be talking about probably my favorite movie on the list. As of today, it's called Bone Tomahawk, and it is a horror western. I've seen some westerns in my time. I don't think I've seen any horror westerns. I don't think they're that big of a genre. But this one was recommended to me by a family member, and I decided to watch it towards the end because it's one of the longer movies. It's 2 hours and 12 minutes. And just, wow. I'm kind of glad I saved this one for the end because it's starting to get like hard to make sure I watch a movie every night. And when I watch like one of the movies that I don't like, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is taking forever. But then when you watch something as awesome as this movie is, like it makes it all worth it. So the plot of Bone Tomahawk is these two robbers, basically highway robbers. Very beginning of the movie, rob and steal from murder, and steal from these two people. And when they're trying to get away, they stumble upon what looks like a Native American sort of burial ground. And one of them dies and one of them escapes and makes their way to this town called Bright Hope. While at Bright Hope, this robber obviously gets himself into more trouble and requires the assistance of Arthur O'Dwyer's wife, who is one of the doctors in town. And while she's rendering him assistance, the Native Americans from this tribe they come and they snatch all those people. So the wife and a deputy and the robber, whose name I don't remember. So then it becomes the job of the sheriff, who's played by Kurt Russell, the backup deputy, whose actor's name I can't remember, but he was the father in Stepfathers. So this was kind of a weird role for him. He was unrecognizable because I'm sure I've seen him in other things, but all I could think of when I saw his actor was when I was watching the extras, were like, oh my god, that's the dad from Stepdads, and it was so cool to see him. So his name in the movie is Chicory, and then there is Matthew Fox. I'm pretty sure I've seen him in other stuff too, but I really only remember him from Lost. And again, like unrecognizable in this role. And they got the hats and the suits and like facial hair and their hair is different and stuff. But Matthew Fox plays this guy named Bruder, and then you have Patrick Wilson playing Arthur O'Dwyer. So these four guys decide that they are going to traverse the desert, essentially, to track down this tribe and rescue O'Dwyer's wife, Samantha, and their deputy, hopefully. And I guess they planned on leaving the other guy to die. Or maybe they wanted to bring him back to let him hang. I don't remember. It was kind of irrelevant. The main part of the story is these four guys traveling through the desert and then ending up at this tribe and like kind of what they're going through to get there. So, like I said, the movie is 2 hours and 12 minutes long, and the first probably about hour and 15 minutes is pretty much straight Western. There is some creepy stuff in the first like half hour, all revolving around this tribe and like what they're doing and the kind of burial ground that gets stumbled upon. And then it goes into Western, and at one point I was sitting here like, oh man, this was billed as like a horror Western, and I'm not getting a lot of horror. And I know that the subgenres in horror can kind of be broad, and I guess forgiving is the word, because there are so many subgenres that you can look at, like Deliverance. That's considered to be a horror movie, and I don't get it. I don't see anything horror related in there. But sometimes like it's considered horror because of like the themes or like the certain backgrounds or where it takes place. Like a lot of people don't consider Silence of the Lambs to be a horror movie, but I would, because of the locations that you're shooting in. You're shooting in like a dungeon. You're not shooting in a clinical white-walled therapist's office. You have this guy literally cutting people's faces off and wearing them. So that's kind of what lends it to horror. So in the first half of this movie, you don't get much horror. It's pretty much straight Western. And then the last hour just gets absolutely bonkers, because they finally make it to the Indian tribe or the Native American tribe, and it's just, wow. I have not seen a movie that shocked me violence-wise in a very long time. And part of it is because, like, I grew up like watching Saw and Hostel and like all those other movies, so it's kind of like watching violence against other people in a movie. You know, it's kind of like, all right, like they cut this guy's head off, or here they are like cutting his face off and chopping fingers and pulling teeth. Like it kind of doesn't really affect me anymore, and it sounds weird to say that, but you know, it's just watching it on the TV. I've watched so much of it, it's desensitized me to it. But in this movie, the violence, oh my goodness, it was inventive and just, it's so in your face, but not to the point where it was gratuitous. I think it was really, I mean, the scenes that I'm thinking of are rather long. Comparatively, the movie's 2 hours and 12 minutes, and these scenes took maybe like 3 to 5 minutes each, or all of them. So I mean, it's long-ish, but like it didn't feel gratuitous in that, like, you see a lot of the other characters reacting to what's happening. So it's not just, oh, here's some violence to show you for violence sake. It's, here's the violence and here's how it's affecting the other people who are involved in this. So, and even though the first part is a Western and you see a lot of them like traveling through the desert and stuff, it's not set up the way like The Revenant is, where you kind of just get long scenes of staring at the environment, or watching people walking through the snow, or doing really much of nothing. They're always doing something, whether it's they are in peril, or they're building the background for these characters, or establishing who the characters are, or like giving more depth to them. It wasn't boring watching that. Like, the movie just kept me going. It doesn't feel like 2 hours and 15 minutes. It is a fast-paced movie, but not to the point where you feel like you can't keep up, except maybe like towards the end. I had to sit and process this movie for a good like half an hour before I could even like decide how I felt about it, other than that I loved it. Like, I immediately texted my cousin and was like, oh my god, this movie was amazing. So in case you haven't been able to figure out how I feel about this movie, or how I've probably rated this movie at this point, I am rating it as a 9.5, because I would not change anything about this movie. Nothing. I liked all the characters. I liked where they ended up. The violence was good for me. Like I said, it's been a long time since like some sort of violence has shocked me, and like this did it for me. And like, I mean, it's a Western. I love Westerns. My friend gave it a 9.5. And the two of us rated it higher than like general viewership usually does. So in IMDb it got a 7.1. On Rotten Tomatoes it got a 73 from general viewership. And the critics gave it a 91. So this is probably one of the few times that I am actually in line with what the critics have to say about a movie. But I definitely agree. Like, the cast is all-star. I loved all of them. You know, it's just, I really can't say enough good things about this movie. I'm probably saying too many good things because I just enjoyed it so much. So if you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. Don't listen to the spoilers, because I'm going to be doing those in a minute or so. I would definitely go check it out because like you won't regret it. I hope you don't regret it. Because I know not everybody's gonna like what I like, but I really think you're gonna like this and you're not gonna regret it. So like, comment, save, subscribe, share, whatever, and go rent yourself Bone Tomahawk from the library or a streaming service or wherever, and get to watching it. And don't hang around because I am now moving into spoilers. So most of the movie, I was sitting there obsessed with Chicory, or Chicory's character, because I was convinced that he was going to be one of the people who died. Because they set him up as like this adorable little old man, and like those are usually the characters who die, and then he doesn't die, so like I was happy, but they killed the sheriff, and I was oddly like really upset about that, especially like because of the relationship he has with his wife. And then the way that he dies, I mean, the way that he dies was insane. Like they cut his stomach open and shove the burning hot flask in there, and then they shoot him in the chest, and he chops the guy's foot off, and oh my god, it was wild. But like it was the ending, like and the violence. Oh my gosh, when they bisect that man and they're chopping at him and they scalp him and put his scalp in his mouth and then shove the spike in there. Oh my, like wow, it was just crazy. And then you get into, and then like as they're escaping, you know, Samantha had mentioned like, oh, there's these 12 men, and then there's 2 crippled pregnant women. And I mean, I kind of figured that it was going to be like they had cut the women's legs off so they couldn't run away because that's how savage this tribe seemed. But then when they show you that like they've had their arms and legs cut off, and then they've had spikes put in their eyes so that they can't even see. Like they're literally just these pregnant lumps that these men use, I guess, to keep making more of them. And it was just horrible. Like it's almost like the movie has put you through all this torture, and then like they just get one last stab in, like with showing you how brutal these people are. And then you the way that everything finally ends, when Chicory has that stone and he just throws the stone after they realize that the sheriff has killed the last 3 of the tribe. You know, it's so final, and it's just so like it just leaves you hanging there like, wow, like it's over. How is it over? Like I feel like this was never going to be over because it was so brutal. And then in the original cut, you don't get to find out what the talk was. The sheriff referenced to Chicory. He was like, oh, make sure you have a talk with Arthur. And I kind of thought that, like, when I was watching, I was like, oh, I feel like he wants Arthur to be the next sheriff. Like, because, like, what else is he going to do? They need a sheriff. But they don't show you that in the original cut, but there is a deleted scene that is the only deleted scene on the DVD. Of like 2 minutes where it's Chicory, Arthur, and Samantha sitting around a campfire. They're all kind of talking, and Samantha's taking care of Arthur's leg, and Chicory comes over, and he's like, yeah, you need to take care of his legs because the sheriff needs to have 2 good legs in order to walk around with. And Arthur's like, what? I'm going to be the next sheriff? So it was neat. I can't decide whether I liked the ending the way it was, where we just kind of like assume that Arthur's going to be the next sheriff, or if I like it better where they like totally wrap it up and like there's no guesswork. But yeah, either ending would have made me happy, because it was just everything just wraps up so nicely, and it was such a good movie. So I really recommend that you go watch this. Hopefully, if you haven't seen it, you didn't sit through the spoilers because you find out everything. But if you have seen it, I hope you really enjoyed it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share or save. And I will see you, cowboys and cowgirls, in the next video. Bye. Do you want to come take your gun now?
That's all you wanted to do?
That's literally all I wanted to do.
That's all you wanted to do. That's it.
Yes.
That's all you wanted to do.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome.